Hey traders, Cousin Benny coming to you from theclosingprint.com on Sunday, December the 22nd with a market read and a look at the week ahead, as well as a small watch list. The first part of what I'm going to cover here today was covered on my blog yesterday at theclosingprint.com, talking about what the indices are doing and what I'm looking for going into the week. Namely, the indices, what they look like thus far. The comp, for example, had a nice breakout on Friday of this ascending channel and these highs that we put in early December, with the indicators crossing over the NASI, the Nasdaq Summation Index, as well as the MACD. That's looking good, and the number of stocks trading above their 50-period moving average on the Nasdaq comp are headed back in the northerly direction. The S&P 500 looks pretty much the same. We had this small descending channel that we put in for around 15 to 20 trading days. We broke out, and now, as you can see here, we hit a new high, taking out this high that we put in end of November, early December. Indicators look pretty much the same. Note the volume. The NYSE, the New York Stock Exchange Summation Index, is giving us a bullish cross. MACD is giving us a bullish cross. As I pointed out, we were in this big channel for the most part of 2013, and we came back down. We flagged over the past 20 or so trading days. We tested the lower part of this channel, and then we rallied higher. So we broke out of this channel, bullish there, as well as new highs. So this is looking really good. RSI is starting to flatten out, but that's okay. MACD has crossed over, and we do see increased volume. %B is overbought, but that can stay up there as well. With the Bollinger Bands continuing to expand top and bottom, this could grind higher, but when they expand both top and bottom, that typically means we're going to have a quicker move to the upside. When the lower Bollinger Band starts to turn and move up in the same direction as price action, that tends to mean we will grind higher with some small pullbacks. So that's the industrials. The Russell 2000, a broader measure of the stocks trading on the markets, 2,000 stocks obviously, was trailing the S&P 500 and the comp, as well as the industrials, but we're back up to highs, so I expect this to continue to move higher with RSI pointing north and MACD crossing over. The CRB index chart here, we broke above this area here, which was support that broke down in October, and we've since come up and flagged, touched the 10-period EMA on the daily, and now we're breaking out. So if you're trading commodities and precious metals, keep an eye on the CRB index. With that in mind, this is a chart of the gold monthly chart. We can see that Bollinger Bands have flattened on the top and moving, expanding to the downside on the monthly. RSI is weak. We are at a double bottom somewhat. We're just above the 50% retracement from the lows back in 01, 2000, 2001. But MACD continues to move lower. Slow stochastics could get down here before we see any turn to the upside, as well as %B being Bollinger Bands are expanding. So let's take a look at a shorter time frame. The RSI looks like it is bouncing. We are at a location where we could see a double bottom here, as I pointed out on the monthly. MACD is turning down. Pretty much just moving sideways, so I don't really see an indicator here. Stochastics, slow stochastics 5-1 is oversold, could turn to the upside, so we could see a move back up to the upper Bollinger Band and some of these previous resistance levels here at 1275, give or take. So we could see a short-term bounce. I believe seasonality-wise, January, February is good for gold. I can't confirm that, but I saw some banter thrown about in the chat room by Delta Strike that we could see a bounce here. So I'm not trading this, but %B is at the lower level here, so we're against that upper Bollinger Band. I would look for a move back above this candle right here, a green candle on this week. I'm not trading anything this week, I'm just managing positions. Note, however, that this is a descending wedge, descending triangle, I should say. So keep an eye on that. That's a bearish pattern. We could come back up and test this upper trend line, which would support, be back up to this area of support that I pointed out. So watch for this level for an area of resistance if we do get a short-term pop. This is a chart of DBV, the Deutsche Bank Currency Harvest Fund. We are in a short-term downtrend that looks like it's breaking out of this small channel, and we could see some upside as far as 25, maybe these lows here. Higher is good for bullish for equities, so keep that in mind. Let's look at the chart versus the SPX. We can see the black line is the DBV versus the spider or the S&P 500. We continue to move higher. We broke out those highs. Obviously, we talked about that on the weekly, and we see something of an inverted head and shoulders on this particular vehicle. So I'd expect this to continue to move higher, and for the S&P to continue to move higher, at least for the next couple of weeks into the first week of January. As far as bonds go, the 10-year yield, we had a target up here close to 3. The 1618 extension is at 30.64, so that's possible as well. We had a nice flag here and could continue to move higher. I saw that Arthur Hill over at stockcharts.com in his weekly market post, market read, that he's looking for 375, I believe, on the 10-year yield, which would still be within the norm. And if you look at the monthly, you can see that even with a move back up to 375, we could still be in this continued downtrend. So that target of 375 is not out of the ordinary and well within the norm for this continuing downtrend that we've seen since the 80s. Where we peaked on interest rates, you can see that we continue to move lower in this descending or bearish pattern. So 375 is not out of the norm. As I pointed out on my blog, this is a chart of TLT, the 20-year. We have seen a foretest of this lower trend line here, and we're bouncing off that level. We could see a move higher up to some of these resistance levels over the next few weeks. So, and by the way, rising interest rates being rising yields on the 10-year aren't necessarily bad for stocks because we are in a long-term downtrend, as I pointed out. Okay, so let's take a look at a watch list. This is from 2 scans that I have set up. The SAR scan has criteria for stocks over a close of $10 and trading over 750,000 shares. SAR was designed by Wilder, and it literally means stop and reverse. The indicator is below prices when prices are rising and above prices when prices are falling. In this regard, the indicator stops and reverses when the price trend reverses and breaks above or below the indicator. So this is a scan using Wilder's SAR, stop and reverse signal. You can see Jazz blocks and the rest of these are showing buy signals. So let's take a look at Jazz. You can see that broke out on Friday. MACD is crossing as well as stochastics, so this looks like this could continue. It would be nice to see a flag here, but I think this is going to continue on Monday. Looking at blocks, we can see where we had that bad news. I believe this was on earnings. We've had more than a couple of weeks of time for the indicators to get oversold, RSI, stochastics, and MACD. So these are all looking good. MACD is crossing from way below 0. That's very bullish. And we can see the bulk of the selling was here on this curvy band. Once we get above that, we have this nice pocket up to around 41.42 on blocks. So we could see some action on this, continued action on this coming week. So you may want to take a look or pause this indicator or pause this video and just look at these stocks here that are on the list, the ones that had the best performance, best percent change last week, and go from there. Okay, so we see a few pharmaceuticals and so forth, some airlines, ALK. I don't know if that's lagging some of the others that were doing well, but you can see we have this descending channel that we're breaking out of. So this could be very nice for a move higher on Alaska Airlines, Alaska Air Group. Note MACD and stochastics are both turning, and we have a pocket pivot. Let's take a look at some more scans. We'll come down here and look at new uptrend started with ADX. Okay, we could run that scan and we get this result. So we can see some of the names that are in here. California Amplifier, I believe, looked pretty good. I looked at that previously. See, we had a nice breakout of a descending triangle, continuation pattern, and we can see volume is very pronounced with the pocket pivot taking out all of these trading days since October. MACD's crossing over, so this should continue for you junkies who can't not trade during the Christmas holidays. Again, you could pause this video and come back and look at some of these for setups, but we'll take a look at some of these. Vascular Solutions, I believe, is a bit extended when I looked at it. Yep. But very bullish. Note the Kirby, there's lack of selling volume up here, so there's no supply. MACD is just crossing, so we have some room here on the stochastics to continue to move higher going into year end. Let's take a look at ARM Holdings. Chips were doing pretty good last week. You can see a nice breakout of this pattern here. RSI is in a strong area. MACD is crossing. And we can see percent B that we should be at the upper Bollinger Band if I had those enabled. Let's do one more scan. This is a classic long. You can see stocks traded over 750,000 shares for the day, and the criteria that we used, which produces a list here. We can see HIMAX is top of the list. Let's take a look at HIMAX. Looks like it's continuing to move higher. Overbought on stochastics, but MACD continues to move higher. So this looks like it needs a little bit of a rest, maybe a pull back to the 10 EMA. Gas Star Exploration, noting that a lot of these names have been looking pretty good, namely EOG and CLD that I'm trading going into next week. Let's look at Gas Star GST. We can see a level here that we're about to break out of. MACD is just crossing, stochastics has got to move on, and we have a pocket pivot. So this is looking pretty good for next week. Percent B, we've got a ways to go before we get to the upper Bollinger Band. Why don't we enable those so you can see what those look like. And re-update this. So you can see that we're compressing here, and we could see a move to the upside and an explosion in prices on a breakout on volume. Note the Kirby here. So this could look pretty good going into the week. GST with EOG and other names breaking out of bullish patterns. This one was pointed out by Options Hawk last week. Chris mentioned CLD, which we're trading as well. And we could see this little cup continue to move to the upside. And we saw a little bit of resistance here with the supply on the Kirby. But I think we could at least get back up here at the 1750s by the end of the week, if not sooner. Sorting these by industry, we were pointing out Gas Star. Let's take a look at Forest Oil. This is on a buy, classic long. Well, very steep pattern here, but you can see what it's doing. It looks like it's bottoming. Let's take a look at the weekly. Weekly is a little more clear. It's down here in Davy Jones Locker, so this could be a reversal play if you're interested. Not something I'd probably play. Since energy is doing well, let's take a look at our sectors. Go to energy right here and look at a candle glance chart and see what we can garner from looking from this view. XOM flags out here. Looks like it could move higher. EOG, we talked about that. DNR, CHK. Kinder Morgan continues to move higher. Probably going to hit this upper level here at 36 before seeing resistance. Oxy and Noble Energy. And let's finish up with our sectors and then I'll call it a day. Note the XLB broke above this level here. XLF's looking good, so let's take a look at some of the names in the finance group. A lot of nice patterns here. ACE, descending wedge or channel. AXP broke out. Let's take a look at AXP. I like this stock a lot. Looks like this is going to continue to move higher this week. Note the volume, our percent B and our Bollinger Bands. Continue to trade the upper Bollinger Bands. MACD cross, nice volume. Slow stow is up here and overbought, but we could embed with MACD crossing over. And percent B is at the upper Bollinger Band, obviously. So this could continue to grind up, but note the lower Bollinger Band is expanding, so that's just telling you that this acceleration could continue with RSI pointing northerly. BAC, it's got a double top here, sitting right on the 20 period moving average. I know a lot of you guys trade this stock. RSI is pointed back down. Not sure what's going on here. BlackRock we traded last week, had a nice little run in it. Mikey is in this stock long term. Note the breakout level. Note there's no resistive volume up here, no sellers. And we have a nice pocket pivot on Friday on BlackRock. Charles Schwab, traded this one last week as well. Nice little breakout on Wednesday. After this nice consolidation pattern, came back down on Friday to test the 10 period EMA. We'll keep an eye on this for a re-entry. I traded options on this one. So we'll take another look at it on Monday. Going over to Yahoo Finance, we could see that the biggest accumulation here is at the 20 strike for the January 14s. Citigroup looks pretty decent here. Descending pattern, came down to the 50, and we can see the highs that we got to deal with here back at 53.50. And this Kirby level, once we get back above this after testing it a few times, we could see it continue to move. But this is a nice bullish pattern on Citigroup. You can see Genworth with high volume on Friday, testing the highs. GS continuing to move higher. Some people in the room and Day Trader Bootcamp were trading that one. Note similar pattern to what we saw on Charles Schwab. Pocket pivot, continued accumulation here on balance. Let's take a look at our default chart. Bollinger Bands are expanding, top and bottom, so this could get a move on with MACD about to cross. So this one looks pretty good going into week on GNW. Let's go back to candle glance. Huntington Bank shares continues to move higher. JP Morgan is at a double top. This one could also do the same thing. The default chart, Bollinger Bands are flat here, so this could grind higher. Maybe a blowout of here, breakout on higher volume would be nice, and the Bollinger Bands could both expand. MACD is about to cross. Stochastics is getting into oversold territory. Alright, so that's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com. Be sure and come and check out some of the links I have here, the box trade for you new traders. Some of the other links over here on the right side. These are tutorials on how to use different techniques like Ichimoku, point and figure, and several other techniques to perfect your trading, along with money management, This could make for a better 2014 and a start to your trading career if you are a new trader. Come and check me out at theclosingprint.com, and also you can come over and check out the chat over at Day Trader Bootcamp, where we have a lot of professional traders here. You can test drive for $19.99 for 2 weeks. Again, this is Cousin Vinny on the 22nd of December. I hope this helps. We'll talk to you later.